Very much, and I will, as everyone before me, I will start by thanking our Greek hosts for so far an amazing event. It's a great pleasure to be here. It was a great pleasure to actually be there with you yesterday at the meeting with your president. And I want just to repeat what I have heard in this meeting is that President of the Greek state has named pharmacists together with doctors as the most crucial members of the society, especially when dealing with the refugee crisis that is currently happening in Greece as well as in Italy. So I think we should be very proud because our Greek colleagues are doing a great job and putting the pharmacists really at the forefront of this fight. And it's a great pleasure to be in this beautiful occasion. It was a change of the topic, as you can see, and I'm very happy for this because I don't think I could have done a better job than Jens in covering this topic so extensively. He would not have left anything for me to say. So why we changed the topic is that what I'm going to present to you is the latest news from the meeting that I had with the European Commission along with our other partners that are participating in the EMBO, and this meeting happened on Thursday. So this is really the latest news that I think will catch the attention not only of our Greek colleagues but also of everybody in the room. So I'm going to talk about delegated acts. Sonia already made the introduction. And I will just make a disclaimer. I'm talking here not representing any particular country. I'm here in the capacity as a Secretary General of the organization, which represents 44 different European countries. Sonia already covered all of this. I just want to mention that, among other things, the Falsified Medicines Directive mandates the Commission to adopt a delegated act setting out some specifications of the system, verification system, also together with changes to the outer packaging of medicines, because since the implementation of the delegated act, we will have an additional item in the outer packaging, which is a unique identifier. So a tamper evidence and a carrier of certain data elements. It was published in August the 12th. It was caught by media, and mistakenly, for some hours, people thought that this is it. This is the delegated act, and this is what is going to be implemented. However, this headline is not correct. What was actually published was a draft, and I have a confirmation from the European Commission on Thursday to all the supply chain partners that this is a very stable draft. So, which means that it's very unlikely that any changes will occur. So what I'm presenting to you today is most likely going to be the regulation which will come into force in all our member states. It has a relation actually to the topic that Jens covered. So why do we have this draft, this very stable draft? It was actually published by the European Commission as a part of the agreement with the WTO countries. So basically, as it is mandated, according to these agreements that EU has with other countries, members of the World Trade Organization, a regulation as such could actually pose a barrier to the trade. So this exercise means that this is published for all the non-EU members of the World Trade Organization to provide comments and to identify if this regulation could infringe the free movement, in this case, of the pharmaceuticals. However, European Commission said very openly that they do not expect any comments or any proposals from any of these countries. So now what I'm going to do, I'm not going to bore you with all the details of the delegated act. I'm going just to highlight some things that are very important to us and some things that are going to change the way we operate in the pharmacies. So as Sonia already said, delegated act talks about characteristics and technical specifications of the unique identifier, modalities of verification of the safety features. It talks about repository systems which will hold these unique identifiers. It also lists the medicines that will be subject to the safety features and also sets the procedures for notification from the competent authorities to the member states in case of medicines that are subject to medical prescription to be notified not to be at risk, and in the case of OTCs to be at risk of the falsification. As you already know, it was predicted and confirmed that the composition, the format, and the carrier is fully harmonized in the EU to ensure actually the free movement of the goods. The composition of code is 5 elements, 4 are mandatory, and the 5th one, which is a national reimbursement number, is something that could happen in the member states if there is such. Carriers 2D matrix, so everything is as it was expected. Something I want to bring to your attention, and I think we should be very proud of, this was a big achievement for PGEU, because since the very beginning we argued that the code should also be available in the human readable form. I'll talk about practicalities of this provision in terms of the practice, but I think this is great that this is recognized in the Delegated Act, and this certainly is going to stay. It's an end-to-end verification system with systematic checking out of the codes at the point of supply to the patients, with some verification at the level of wholesalers, which is going to be supplementing, and it will be on based on the risk. Also, something that is important to note is that if it recognizes the stakeholder model, and Commission was very open that this is the first time that actually it's left up to the supply chain for the market itself to set a regulation, and it's going to be only supervised by the competent authorities. So I would say this was a very forward thinking of the PGEU leaders at the time to actually get involved and to start negotiations so early and be participating in the process from the very beginning. Of course, national competent authorities have a supervisory role. They can put this role actually to the third parties, and we expect that some member states actually could collaborate with EDQM and transfer this supervisory role to the EDQM as someone that is also going to be quality assuring our system, because as Sonia mentioned, in the coming weeks we will sign an agreement with the EDQM, which is going to be basically the quality assurance partner in the system. List of medicines as predicted. All the prescription-only medicines are included, except a very short list, such as homeopathic medicines and some other medicines that are likely to be difficult to put a unique identifier on. In case of OTCs, it's only 2 strengths of omeprazole that are included, so the 20 and 40 milligrams. And also what it does, it recognizes that actually prescription or non-prescription status is a competence of the member states, and there is a great variety of differences among member states. So it could be that in one country the same product is going to bear a safety feature, and across the border it's not going to be required to bear a safety feature. So each member state will have obligation to notify the European Commission of the list of medicines that will have to bear the safety feature, as well as give a notification, of course, to the pharmacists, because we need to know what we will need to verify at the end of the day. Notification procedure, as I said before, this procedure is in place for the member states if they want to expand or decrease the list of these medicines. So in case you have a medicine which is subject to medical prescription that you think it's not at the risk, you can notify the European Commission, send evidence, and the European Commission will have 45 days to make an assessment and to decide on this notification. And the same for OTCs. If the member states decide that a certain OTC, according to criteria listed in the Falsified Medicines Directive, could be subject to falsification, they can send a notification to European Commission and add this medicine on the list. So now really the details, and this is what practically could happen in some of your countries. So here I want first to start to talk about the most important thing, which was the basis of our first discussions and the reason why I think we started talking to our supply chain partners in its transactional data. So I think everybody should be very proud that the Delegated Act actually defends the same position as PGEU took, is that everybody who generates the data is the owner of the data. And it could be accessed only with the written permission of the data owner, which is going to be individual pharmacy, and only like this it could be accessed by other party. However, competent authorities as we were expecting, will have different rights, and they will be able to request this information, and not only for falsification purposes, but also for reimbursement, pharmacovigilance, etc. Something else that was a long debate between us and the industry partners, and I am very glad that it's reflected in the Delegated Act, is response times. Why it is very important? It's important that that implementation of this regulation doesn't slow down the operations of the pharmacies, that we can keep doing our job in the same way that we used to do. So it's very good that it recognizes and it exactly states the same response time that we agreed between our supply chain partners. So it's 300 milliseconds in at least of 95% of the queries. However, I want to bring to your attention that you have to be aware that it does not take into consideration the speed of internet. So it's left to each individual pharmacy to ensure that at the pharmacy level you have a high-speed internet connection. Because if you have a very slow internet connection, you will be responsible if it's not responding fast enough and does not reach the system response times. So this is left up to every single pharmacy. Something that is very interesting also, and this has caused a lot of debate among our industry partners, is the graphical interface. Before, they were not expecting that they will have to pay for this, and this is going to be a large sum of money. They will have to establish a graphical interface, which, if you think, the ones of you that have a e-prescription system in your countries, you know that you can proceed with the e-prescriptions in the pharmacy software, or otherwise normally you are provided with the portal where you can log in and do it without actually using your inside software. This is going to be the same, and Delegated Act speaks that this graphical interface will be used by pharmacies in case your local software fails. So if you have difficulties, for example, with your local software, you will be able to go on the portal, log in as a pharmacy, and then do some of the transactions via using this graphical interface. Industry colleagues say that this is going to create a lot of additional costs, but I would say that in the case of pharmacies, this is going to be, this will help us in the case that we, for example, I don't know, a country is late with updating the software, etc. So I think this is very good. And human readable code, why it was important, imagine your scanner breaks, and human readable code will allow you to record it on the paper if you wish, and then when the system is back, when the scanner is working, or enter it manually, or actually put it as Delegated Act says, as soon as possible after the system is back up and running. Something else that is important is reverting status from decommissioned back to medicine which is available to be sold to the public. Here we had a lot of debate because we wanted to defend the longest time possible. We took an example from the UK where, to my knowledge, it's permitted to prepare the packs in advance and have them on the shelf of the pharmacy up to 6 months before we return them to the sellable stock. However, it was challenged, and on Thursday when I asked for clarification, it was challenged by the majority of the member states because they think that, of course, in this way you save and you don't waste the medicines, but it's not justifiable, and they think this could bring some breach to the safety, and they stick to the 10 days which they took from the GDP guidelines. I reminded them that in the GDP guidelines it says, for example, 10 days, but appears it was not an argument to some of the member states, and they put it down. So you could return medicines after scanning out of the system as long as they haven't left the pharmacy, and it's within the 10 days, within the same premises of the pharmacy that decommissioned the code. Point of verification, something also very important. We had a lot of discussion among the PGEU members because our intention was to secure the scanning out of the product at any point of the medicine being in the pharmacy. Some of you expressed the wish to check out the product when it enters the pharmacy and not to do it again in front of the patient. So here I want to bring to your attention that unfortunately pharmacists are the only actors that are using the system who will be obliged to check out at the point of supply, so just before handing out to the patient. Here, why I say exceptionally, because healthcare institutions such as primary care centers, such as hospitals, they have a right to decommission the codes at any point in the hospital. My question to the Commission was, is 5,000 bed hospital a safer environment than a pharmacy with 2 or 3 people that you really know how it all works? They do not have an answer, and this appears to be actually a decision of some of your competent authorities, and this is what they wished. They wished to have actually pharmacists to be the only ones scanning out it in front of the patient, because they thought that this is also a good PR. If there's so much money invested in the system, someone has to show the patient why they are paying for. It's basically to see a pharmacist with a scanner scanning it out before handing the pack to the patient. I'm not sure if this is something that is going to work, but this is what they decided to. And also for those countries that dispense unit doses or open the packs, in other words, this delegated act clarifies that this is going to be possible to continue to do so, and you will scan the pack at one only moment when you open it for the first time. You could question whether opened pack could actually raise a flag if you scan it in the end before dispensing, but this was the view that they took. So when you will open the pack, you scan it out, and it will remain in the pharmacy opened and already decommissioned, even if it could be raising a flag in the system in the meantime when it is on your shelves. And something that I want, it's not directly related to the pharmacies, but something that could be of interest to you is that in case where you have dispensing doctors, for example, or you have veterinarians that are selling human medicines, or for example you have paramedics, obligation to check out or decommission codes is transferred to the wholesaler. So it's not going to be your dispensing doctors that will be checking out or be required to actually have the software. It's going to be the wholesaler who supplies these dispensing doctors or paramedics that will be checking out codes of the system. So I don't think it's very good news to us. It doesn't directly affect us, but I think it makes things easier for these actors, non-pharmacists, supplying the medicines to the public. Management of the system. Also a very important debate. That was one of the reasons why we started discussing with our supply chain partners and why the ENVO was established. And here, if you read the act, I was ready to get questions from you, because it says pharmacies are entitled to participate in the system at no cost. And I imagine you will ask me why on earth we are paying for the EMVO if we have the right to participate. So the reason why we are paying for EMVO is actually having the right to decide, having a veto right on very important things like, for example, changes to the technical documents, admission of other members to the EMVO, because any pharmacy, any single pharmacy downstairs or any pharmacy chain, imagine, could actually apply for the membership in the EMVO. And they have a right to do so. However, EMVO is going to decide on participation level or participation rights, and the intention of the current stakeholders is to set up different levels of the membership with different rights that we will give to these organizations or these individuals that will express a wish to participate. So the reason why we are paying for administration and governance of this organization is to have a decisive right on the fundamental principles that were agreed at the beginning of the project. Implementation timeline, I'm just going to repeat what Sonia already said. I'm a little bit more optimistic because Commission, what's going to happen next? So basically this act is going to be adopted. Currently it's undergoing the inter-service consultation. So DJ Sanko is consulting with other Directorate Generals. They expect some comments, but they said it's likely that they will be editorial, and then it's going to be adopted. Adoption is expected at the end of this month, and then it will start 2 months period where Parliament or Council has a right to reject or accept the proposed regulation. They do not imagine that it's going to be rejected, so it's likely that it's going to be published at the end of November. However, Parliament could ask for extension of this deadline for extra 2 months. So the latest, end of January 2016, we will have this regulation being published in an official journal. And then the clock starts ticking. Member states that do not have a system have 3 years. And for example, Greece, which has a system, is going to have plus additional 6 years to implement. So we are looking at possibly 10 years from now, when the system is going to be fully operational. I know that you will receive a call. I'm talking to Belgium, Italy, and Greece. You will receive a call from the European Commission asking you not to wait for these 6 years. And I know that there is a commitment already from the Belgian stakeholders that they are going not to wait, and they will actually join the wave of the other countries, and they expect that they will have it in place in 3 years. And the same will be the same invitation and encouragement will be sent to the Italian colleagues and also to the colleagues here in Greece. And now is the hot news, if you wish. So these are the numbers that were presented by and calculated mainly by our industry partners. And I'm taking an example of Greece. I'm not allowed to show you the comparison tables. However, I want to make to let you know that each of you could contact me and I can disclose information related to your particular country. And this is going to be the costing presented to us by our industry colleagues. How much is this going to cost? And I'm talking about how much is it going to cost in Greece to set up the system. So the purpose of this exercise was to provide national stakeholders with the estimated cost. The costs are done by our industry colleagues, I want to remind you, and it's based on the understanding that this system would be run on the blueprint principles, and this system will be based basically on the contract agreements, negotiations, also with the deselected IT providers. I'm looking at you, you want me to be quicker, so I'm going to the numbers. So what is important for you to know that there are 3 items. There are 3 items that are very important when you talk about the cost. So it's a system cost. So basically it's a system, it's a national repository, setting it up, and this is where the cost from the IT suppliers is coming in. Then it's this NMVO, so it's a national organization cost, governance and administration. So if you mirror the example we have with the EMVO, you are going to set up a similar organization, pay for a general manager, maybe pay for office manager, etc., and have some costs in running this organization, as well as get some services if you use the blueprint system from the EMVO. And then it's a hub cost. So it was calculated according to the number of packs that are in the system, what percentage of EU hub you are going to use. So how many transactions is going to likely to happen on behalf, for example, of the Greek national database in the European hub. And talking about general rules, I just want to bring to your attention that this data is coming from the IMS. So at the 2011, when this is the reference, there were 10.5 billion packs in the system, and the period which is used for the calculation of this cost is 5 years. So market-specific data, our industry colleagues believes that at the moment there are around 11,000 pharmacies in Greece, 70 wholesalers, and
now is 10,000.
We will correct them. Thank you very much. And there is around 276 manufacturing authorization holders. Why these numbers are very important? They are important because based on these numbers, you are actually can calculate how many interactions you are going to have with your national system, and also it is the basis for setting the grade. There are 4 grades, which defines how much is going to cost to run the national MVO. So basically Greece, because of the high numbers of the system users, falls into the highest grade. So along with the France or along with the UK, because you have a large number of system users. So in Greece, it's expected, and this is the number, which is the average of what was negotiated with the service providers, it's going to cost to run the system. So setting up a national repository system, and setting up all the necessary to have the running of the system. This is the average what was proposed by all the IT service providers. However, you must know that you can negotiate this price, and it's more or less, we calculated, it could be double or twice as less, depending on which service provider you choose, and then what was negotiated with them is the starting negotiating rate. So depending depending on how good you are in negotiations, it could be okay. Okay. It spoiled the moment. So as you can see, this is how much it's going to cost to Greece, and you must know that this is going to be incurred by your manufacturing authorization holders. So you don't need to pay this. However, for you it's very important to be involved in the discussion from the very beginning, because some conditions from different IT suppliers are very, very different. So you must be part of this, because you will buy something and you may not be very happy if industry buys it on your behalf. Another item, which is the cost, and this is the cost also to consider, because I would imagine that you would like to share this one. Because Greece is a part of this grade 4, the grade which is the highest, as I said, because of the large number of the system users, it's quite high. So this is the highest, what was estimated that you will need to invest in administration and management of the system. However, I brought to the attention of FPA that certainly setting up an MVO is different if you set it up in Greece or you set it up in the UK. Just because renting an office, it's a different price in London and different price in Athens. Hiring a person in London and hiring a person in Athens is also a different cost. So this cost is really a rough estimation that was calculated by our industry colleagues. And then if we talk about cost of using EU Hub, it is expected that Greece is going to use 3.5% of all the transactions in the hub, and this is going to cost 140,000 euros per year for your manufacturing authorization holders. Something that also is important to, that I didn't mention, that what was not expected and it upsetted industries greatly, is that data upload a manufacturer can choose. It was expected, and this is what FPA wanted very much, that it will be required to upload the data via EU Hub, but for example, if you have a local manufacturer that really supplies only the Greek market, this manufacturer will be able to upload the data at the national system rather than go via EU Central Hub. And also something else that was not also particularly well accepted by the industry, that a pack which was intended, for example, for a Greek market, could be checked out in let's say, Germany. So basically, the system will have to allow interoperability of movement of the goods. So it could happen that you will be scanning out some packs that are parallel trade and hasn't been repacked. It's just merely something that is not likely to happen, but we were informed that, for example, you have a case in Germany and Austria where you have a high movement of medicines across the borders because of the language. So as a pharmacist, you will be able to check the Italian pack being anywhere in Europe. And it's the total for the Greek system is this, and only a part of it is going to be the cost to the pharmacist, but you can choose. You are not obliged to pay, but I think if you want to have a right to decide on what is there, unfortunately you will have to open your wallet. And this is already explained by Sonia. If you choose the blueprint system, you can actually transfer some of the obligations to the EMVO on your behalf, and basically EMVO is going to send you an invoice for this service. This was covered already by Sonia, and I'm still optimistic. I hope that this is going to be completed by 2024, with the last countries that have this right to take longer. And we hope that in 2024, every pack that is going to be leaving European pharmacies will be checked out by highly qualified healthcare professionals, and the patients can be sure that all the packs in our pharmacies are safe. Thank you very much.